Chapter 14. The Summer of 1973. A Mother's Emergency. The Quiet Days Before the Storm. In June 1973, in Dalat had a way of carrying contrasts. The mornings were misty, with clouds hanging low over the hills, dew clinging to pine needles like silver pearls. By midday, the sun would pierce through, casting long golden beams across the tiled rooftop. The cobblestone streets. In the evenings, the mountain air grew crisp, so cool that we needed sweaters even inside our home. That year, Father was in Saigon for official business. His duties were constant. He had to order new vaccines for the Department of Veterinary, renew his advanced training, and meet colleagues. To us children, his trips always felt like a small emptiness in the house. Mother became our work during those times, the one who carried the burdens of every meal, every quarrel, every tear. Life at 21st One Yet Sand seemed steady, mornings filled with the sound of chickens in the yard, afternoons of schoolwork and evenings of laughter at dinner table. Yet history was not far from us. In 1973, the war pressed heavily across Vietnam. But within the walls of our home, we clung to the sense of normalcy until one afternoon when the foundation of our little world began to tremble. The first signs of pain. It began so quietly that we almost ignored it. Mother pressed her hand to her abdomen and once she brushed it off, saying that it was just indigestion or perhaps something she ate at the market. We believed her because we wanted to. She brewed ginger tea for herself, sipped slowly, and tried to continue her chores. But the sharpness in her face betrayed her. She was never one to complain, so any sign of pain from her was enough to unsettle us. By evening, she had grown pale. She forced a smile when we crowded around her, but the smile was thin as it stretched over something unbearable. "I am okay," she said softly. "I'm fine, I will be fine." Yet her voice shook. We thought it was a stomach flu. How could we have known that a small organ called the appendix was inflamed, threatening to rupture, threatening to steal her from us? The ache becomes violent. The pain worsened quickly. By the next day, Mother could no longer stand. She curled up on the bed, her breath uneven. Every moment seemed to stop her. Panic seized us. At the time, only chị Thanh Hoa and chị Thanh Loan were old enough to shoulder some responsibility. But even they were young, and the fear in their eyes betrayed their helplessness. The younger siblings clung to them, asking questions no one could answer. Will she die? What would we do? The house, usually alive with noise, fell into fearful silence. Every sound, a creak of a chair, a cry of a child, seemed too loud, as though it might disturb her fragile state. I still remember the way her hand trembled as she reached for the wall, trying to steady herself. She was our strength, yet now she looked so frail. To see my mother broken was to realize that the world could collapse at any moment. Seeking help, We needed someone older, someone wiser. That was when we thought of Bakhtam, father's trusted colleague at the Department of Agriculture. With urgency, we sent word when he arrived. The relief was immediately. His calm presence steadied us. He saw the severity of the situation and wasted no time arranging for her to be taken to the nearest hospital. Neighbors gathered, whispering prayers, offering words of comfort. Yet we children could only watch as she was lifted onto a stretcher. Her face was tight with pain, her lips pressed together, her eyes half closed. As the stretcher was carried out, we stood at the doorway in silence. The evening air was cool, scented faintly with pine. It should have been a peaceful Dalat evening, but to us the world felt dark and unsteady. At the hospital was small but functional, with whitewashed walls and smell of disinfectant lingering in every corridor. The waiting area was crowded with patients, soldiers with bandages, women with sick children, old men coughing into cloths. The doctor examined her quickly. Their voices were firm, urgent. Appendicitis, they say. Immediate surgery was required. Without it, the appendix could burst, spreading infection through her body. We didn't fully understand the medical terms, but we understood enough her life was in danger. The image burned in my memory, her being wheeled into the operating room, the heavy doors closing behind her. We were not allowed inside, left only with our imagination. We pictured bright lights above her face, gloved hands moving swiftly, the sterile gleam of metal instruments. We imagined her heartbeat slowing, her breath shallow, her body fighting, and we waited. The telegram to Saigon. In those days, communication was slow. No phones in the house, no way to call Saigon instantly. Only the telegram, each word punched into paper with urgency. Bakhtam composed the message with care, but there was no time for softness. It had to be short, clear, urgent. Vợ nguy cấp, trở về gấp. Wife in critical condition, return immediately. That slip of paper carried our desperation across the miles. Somewhere in busy streets of Saigon, father could soon receive it, and in that moment his heart would tighten, his duties abandoned as he raced to return to Dalat. The waiting hours. For us, the waiting was unbearable. We sat together in the hospital corridor, knees drawn to our chests, eyes fixed on the door that separated us from her. Time stretched endlessly, each minute feeling like an hour. The younger siblings grew restless, asking if she was dead, if she could come back. The older sister tried to hush them, but their own tears betrayed them. I remember staring at the ceiling, whispering silent prayers. I wasn't sure if God heard me, but I had nowhere else to turn. For the first time, I realized how fragile life was, how quickly a loved one could be taken away. Recovery and reunion. Hours later, the doctor emerged. The surgery had been successful. The appendix was removed before it ruptured. She was weak, but she would live. Relief swept over us like a wave. We cried openly, the tension finally breaking. The hospital corridor, cool and sterile, suddenly felt warmer and safer. The next day, father returned from Saigon. His usual composure was gone. His face carried a raw fear of a man who had almost lost his wife. He rushed to her side, his hands trembling as he touched her arm. In that moment, I saw a side of him I had never fully understood before, not just a stepfather or a government official, but a husband deeply in love, terrified of losing a woman who has shared every sacrifice with him. For weeks afterward, she recovered slowly. Each day her strength returned. The house, once again, filled with her voice, her quiet laughter, her guiding hands. Reflections. Looking back, June of 1973 became a turning point in our family's memory. It was the moment we realized how close we had come to losing her, how fragile our lives were in the shadow of war and uncertainty. We learned that family is not invincible, but it is resilient. We learn that in the absence of one parent, children must take on greater responsibility. We learn that the value of neighbors and friends, such as Baktam, whose steady hands guided us through our fears. Most of all, we learn gratitude. Gratitude for every breath, every meal shared around the table, every quiet evening when we were all together. The war outside continued. History moved forward, but within us, that moment left a mark. It taught us to hold on to each other tighter, to treasure our mother's presence, to see our father not only as authority, but as a man who could be shaken by love. June 1973, a month etched into memory, a chapter of fear and relief, a reminder that life is always both fragile and precious. Tell me all about this name, and it's difficult to say. It was given me the day I was born. Want to know about the stories of the empire? My eyes say more of me than what you dare to say.